Plug-and-Play Maps makes it easy to get interesting maps in your web page. By interesting, I mean maps that tell a story. Instead of a collection of markers and lines that all look the same, Plug-and-Play Maps lets you very simply build a thematic map. By using color and size, your map tells a story. It's very easy to create. You need to drop 2 small script tags on your web page, and we'll show you right now how to get those 2 script tags. The first one that you need comes from Google, and it's a script tag that basically enables web mapping on your web page. There's a link on our Jumpstart screen here to Google where you can indicate to Google the location of your website and get back a script that looks something like this, which is a single line with a key code that enables mapping on your web page. The second script is the one that asks Plug-and-Play Map for the map. And that script, you can write it by hand, but we've also put a simple interactive designer tool here to kind of build the script by looking at the map and changing a few settings until you get the map you want, and then you can copy the script and drop it off on your web page, and off you go. To get a map in your web page, Plug-and-Play Maps looks at a data file that you point to. The data file has to live on the web somewhere. It can't be on your local drive because Plug-and-Play Maps needs to see it somewhere on the web, look at it, and create the script that will make the map. The data file can be a spreadsheet file, could be a shape file, a GIS format, it could be a KML file, database file. Plug-and-Play Maps supports a variety of formats. We'll do an example here with some data from recent events. I went to the Center for Disease Control and pulled off some data about the recent swine flu epidemic and put it in a CSV file, which is just a spreadsheet file saved as text. Before we go ahead, let's take a quick look at the file. It's a simple spreadsheet file with a few columns of data. The location, the data were number of swine flu cases per state. So we have the state name, state population, the number of cases, and the number of deaths from swine flu as of the end of May 2009. You might wonder, looking at this, how exactly we'll make a map out of it. Plug-and-Play Maps will look in the data file that you hand it to figure out where to put the information that it's provided. In some cases, like KML data or GIS data, the locational information is already encoded in some way inside the file. For other data, like your spreadsheet data, you need to provide some kind of mappable information. In this case, this column of state codes can be used by Plug-and-Play Maps. When it sees a column labeled ST, this is basically a shorthand for saying, hey, I want to map data on a state-by-state basis, and it has a built-in database of the center of each state and the outline of each state that can be used to map either markers or outlines or polygons for each state. Plug-and-Play Maps will also look for other information that it thinks is mappable. If there's a column named address, it will use that as a street address and try to map the location of each street address by calling Google's geocoding service. So I'm pointing to the file on the web and going to start this interactive design tool here. So basically, Plug-and-Play Maps did just what it's supposed to do. It looked at that file and it delivered a map. The script tag is shown here. It wouldn't normally show on your web page, but we put it here so you could, once you get the map set up the way you want it, you can copy this and paste it onto your web page. The map is interactive. You can zoom in and out and move things around. It has markers for every state that was in that spreadsheet file. And these markers are interactive also. If you click on a marker, it pops up a window showing the other information from the spreadsheet file. So we had, as you remember, the state name, the population, the number of cases, and the number of deaths due to swine flu. And it puts those automatically for you in this pop-up box. Plug-and-Play Maps bundles all that information and makes it available to you. It also builds a nice legend to show you that this marker symbol is for swine flu. It lets you turn an entire data layer on and off, and it also gives you a link text here, so if you've been moving the map around and zooming in and out, clicking on a layer, legend text zooms you back to see that whole data set. This is all very useful when you have more than one data layer. You can add lots of files to a single map with Plug and Play Maps, and each one will have its own legend showing what the symbols mean and letting you turn it on and off and zoom in and out, zoom back to the data set. Let's take a quick peek at the script file. It's about as simple as could be. If you drop this script and the Google script into your web page, you'll get this map. It just says, hey, Plug and Play Maps, data file 1 is this one here at GIS Matters. Make a map for me. And as you can imagine, if you want more than one layer, you could say data file 2 equals such and such, data file 3, data file 4, and each one will show up on this same map as an additional data. Now, I said an interesting map tells a story, and I wouldn't say this is an interesting map. Let's change the way we symbolize the data so that somebody looking at this map can immediately see where there are a lot of swine flu cases and where there aren't so many. There are a couple of ways of doing that. We can use colors, or we can use weights. Weights means different things depending on whether we're using markers, where it controls the size of the marker, or the line thickness for lines, or the amount of transparency if we're using polygons. First, let's use weighting, and we'll scale our weight, our marker size, by a data item, and we can choose the data item from this list, which is just the columns from our spreadsheet. We'll choose the number of swine flu cases and use this update button to get a new map and a new script. Now this is a thematic map. This is a map that tells a story. Glancing at this map, we can very quickly see that there are a lot of cases in Texas and Arizona and California and a few other states, and there aren't so many cases in most of the rest of the United States. We have a new legend now showing that we're using a range of sizes, and it's taken the minimum number of cases of 2 and the maximum of 900 and scales the marker size in between those two ranges based on the number of cases. Another interesting thing has happened. Plug and Play Maps says, well, if cases are the interesting thing being mapped for this data layer, let's make a little tooltip that shows up when a visitor to your web map hovers their mouse over a marker. So we can very quickly see and explore this data set in a way that tells us the story of the data very quickly. The script is almost the same as before. The only difference is that there's now an additional item. So after data file 1, it has another parameter saying weight item 1 is cases, equals cases. So we're saying find the item or column named cases in the data set and use it for scaling the size of the markers. Let's change things up just to show you some of the other possibilities. Let's go back to displaying all the features with the same weight. Let's use color to scale by the same item. We'll use cases. When you're color scaling, you have a choice of what kinds of color stripes to use. You get kind of a range of colors. We're going to use the rainbow one that goes from cools to warms, but there are other choices here. And let's also change from using these markers to using polygons for each state. Remember, the built-in state database that we have in Plug and Play Maps includes the center of each state, but also the state outlines, so you can draw states as outlines or as filled polygons. We're going to do it as filled areas. We need to update the script and the map, and here's another version of our thematic map. This time the map is made with filled polygons, and the legend has changed to indicate that. We're now using a color stripe of polygons, and we've lost, for polygons we don't have the hover feature, but we can still click on these maps and pop up the info window for any polygon. We can also see that there were some states that weren't in the database at all in the spreadsheet file. Wyoming and West Virginia had no confirmed cases of swine flu as of this date, so they're absent and they're not called. When you're done, you copy the script tag here and drop it in your web page along with the Google script, and you'll get the same map showing up on your web page. Happy mapping.